Morning, everyone. This is really not so much a first reading as a verbal report about the Belfast Domestic Mission and what we do and what we've done. For the first few years after we inherited the Belfast Domestic Mission, it took a while to sort out the paperwork associated with it and to understand how the finances worked. For a few years before Reverend Mac, God bless his cotton socks, asked us to take on the work of the mission, not a lot had happened. This was entirely understandable, as both Reverend Mac and Ivor Bradley, who acted as treasurer, were getting older and frailer. We think that the effort of applying for and gaining charitable status from the Charity Commission for Northern Ireland was a bit overwhelming. But we are extremely grateful that they did do all the application work and get formally registered as a charity. So it didn't fall to us to endure the tedium of doing that. But by the time we got to grips with everything, which I had inherited in a huge big school briefcase and cardboard boxes, we realised that no statutory annual submissions to the Charity Commission had been made since achieving charitable status. So we have 5 years of submissions to the Charity Commission to prepare and submit. And of course, the Charity Commission insisted that a separate submission had to be made for each year. So we couldn't just round things up, make one submission and start afresh. You can imagine how much I enjoyed ploughing through all the new, old and ancient pieces of paper and reports to get them in order and get the accountant and independent examiner to confirm their accuracy. If there had been a square box in our house at the time, it would have been full. Because not a lot of activity had taken place for a while, the mission finances were in reasonable shape, with the wise investments made with NG by our predecessors accruing about £5,000 a year. By this stage, Northern Ireland, like the rest of the UK, was getting well into a cost of living crisis. The trustees felt we should be proactively spending down our bank balance to address as best we could the poverty that we knew was there. But we also felt that our collective experience did not equip us to address poverty in Belfast in a systematic way. Prior to this, we had been doing pretty much what Reverend Mac had done for years, by carrying grocery vouchers around and dispensing them to people we saw on the street or who approached us directly in church. It was a bit hit and miss, and not terribly targeted. So after some discussion and a bit more exposure to what was happening around Belfast to address real poverty, such as food poverty, homelessness, people unable to pay utility bills, we realised that while we didn't have the knowledge and experience to target people in need, we certainly knew a few organisations who did have that experience. We already knew of the work of the People's Kitchen and knew it was based in North Belfast, where the Domestic Mission embarked on its work originally in 1835. So we had discussions with Paul McCusker, who is officially the Programme Director of the People's Kitchen, also known as the head honcho and the chief cook and bottle washer. The discussions we had were eye-opening and frightening in modern society. And we came up with a plan to provide 30 by £30 grocery vouchers each month for distribution as they saw fit to their large clientele. In addition, we agreed that in a limited way, people who needed specific support for household basics could be referred to us, and we would liaise with the person or the family and provide what support we could. You'll hear from Paul later in the service about how the collaborations worked in a very modest but dependable way, and how the People's Kitchen is addressing the acute poverty in Belfast. The grocery vouchers we provided were originally bought monthly from that supermarket which likes to pat itself on the bum and tell us that every little helps. But month on month, they made it increasingly difficult to purchase the vouchers. So when it was suggested to me for the third time by the customer service staff that they were concerned about money laundering, I realised we needed a different approach and a different supplier of the vouchers. I approached Lidl and initially was told by a local manager that they might also have money laundering concerns. But importantly, the local manager suggested I contact the Lidl charity gift card team, led by the beautifully named Ken Trapp, and that changed the way we did business. Lidl couldn't have been more helpful. After some discussion, we agreed that we'd buy 12 months worth of 30 by £30 vouchers in one go, with Lidl batching them into 12 separate packs, which arrived quickly by post, and I simply emailed them each month to activate the next batch, which I then leave with Paul to issue and use as necessary. Not only did they make it easy, but Lidl also offered a discount for both purchase of the vouchers. So a win all round. So just to give you a flavour of how we've been spending the resources of the Belfast Domestic Mission since we took over, I've done a brief tally of what we paid for. Close to home, and in keeping with one of the objectives of the mission, which is to encourage and support education, we've made 3 contributions to the annual book fund for disadvantaged children in North Belfast, organised by Michael McKelvey, with another contribution being made next Sunday. 17 contributions to NSPCI Sunday Schools, which is a requirement based on the application of the mission for charitable status. 2 grants for school uniforms. 1 gas reconnection and supply for someone who was very unwell and as a self-employed person fell so far behind with his gas payments that he was disconnected from supply and was living in a freezing cold house. Not very conducive to recovery and return to work. We bought 4 washing machines, 3 fridge freezers, 2 cookers, 3 full tanks of heating oil for family homes, 1 mobile phone and top up, and that's a very long story. 3 beds, mattresses and bedding. 528 of those £30 grocery gift vouchers for individuals and families, and 8 separate money grants and assistance to individuals and families who were assigned accommodation, but when they got there it was bare walls, bare floors and no white goods, which apparently is common today. If I was Roger or Norman, I'd probably be able to create a song out of that litany of spending along the lines of the 12 Days of Christmas. You'll have noticed quite a few white goods in the list I've just read. I need to thank very especially another of our suppliers for their support. It was suggested by some people that Grimley's Electrical was a dependable supplier, and they weren't wrong. Kerry Yates, née Grimley, daughter of the well-respected Noel, founder of Grimley's Electrical, has been a star in terms of ensuring that our clients get the best of electrical goods, that we get the best value for money by providing discounts and waiving delivery charges for the white goods. Kerry is a one-woman heroine for the mission. Joe and the small team of delivery guys are now best buddies, given the number of phone calls we have. And Leo is the most patient of installers for those white goods. So I'm not a bit hesitant to give a big shout out to Grimley's for anything electrical you need to buy or replace. As trustees, we're happy that almost 2 centuries after it was established, we've kept very closely to the original objectives of the Belfast Domestic Mission for the poor in Belfast. It is a sad indictment on society that the need for charities like ours are more necessary than ever. And we hope that those who were previously involved with the mission are happy with how we've taken on the mantle of the mission after their good guardianship for many years. We hope the work of the mission can continue to provide some support to the poor in Belfast for years to come, though we really would prefer if we find ourselves out of the job, because poverty has been eradicated here.